Okay, welcome back to another episode of The Bottom Line. This is a new show from the Morning Chalk Up. I'm Justin LaFranco, and I'm joined with me today is Nikki Brazier. We're going to be going through three topics today that are extremely relevant. Right now, we've got on the list sanctionals, fees, and whether or not they're going to get refunded for the next season, this season, and applied to next season. We've got games, age group categories, teams, teens, masters, and how they are having new events popping up on the radar. Now we have, and then lastly, we've got any trends that are going on right now and things that we're noticing in the affiliate community. So to kick it off, Nikki, CanWest is the most recent event that just announced earlier this week that they are no longer going to be putting on their event for this year, and they're going to be moving it into next season. One of the interesting notes in there was they talked about sanctioning fees as one of the non-refundable fees that are really putting them in kind of dire straits financially. And so what we know that a lot of these events are losing money and they're in a tough position financially. What do you think about them not getting a refund from CrossFit HQ for the sanction fee?
Yeah, this is so hard because I feel like if I were an athlete going or a spectator going and the event wasn't happening, of course, I would want my money back. But here, the parent organization or the company is letting people know, like, hey, we may not be able to refund you, spectator or vendor or this person or that person, because we are still out this money, because we are not being refunded our venue fees or our sanctioning fees from HQ. And it's like the kind of thing where on baseline, on principle, you think, of course, the event didn't happen. Refund me. That's so not fair.
Right.
But I also think it's important to remember that, like, somewhere someone up the chain of command is going to lose money on this. So like the venue, for example, like if they're not refunding CanWest games, the venue owner still has to pay property fees, and the government's probably not, cutting them a break. Or, if HQ's is not refunding that sanctional fee, like HQ had that money come in as revenue and probably spent it elsewhere, so they don't have it either, so then they'll be out that money. I mean, sure. It's just tough to say with a global pandemic who exactly on what level should be out that money.
I think right now there's this kind of idea that like everybody deserves a refund for something.
Right.
And I've talked with a number of sanctions organizers across the board about situations, and what they've told us so far is that they are not currently receiving either a refund or the money is getting pushed to next year. And I think that, look, for those who aren't aware, we've heard a lot of different numbers as to how much it costs to get a sanction, is to pay the sanction fee. Somewhere I've heard like 15,000 to 20,000 kind of being as a lower level figure, all the way up to about 75,000. And so if your event doesn't go on, and you're not actually, it's like got canceled,
right.
And you are refunding athletes and spectators money and some of the vendors money because they didn't actually get to show up with the merch to sell it, and sort of situation. I think, having spoken, from what CanWest has already said and what Atlas has made very clear in some of their losses, events like this are going to have a very hard time ponying up an additional $25,000 to $50,000 to put on their event again next year. I think that puts them in a really tough position.
Yeah, it would be ideal if HQ could, if they can't refund the sanctioning fee, if they could maybe waive it for next year, or maybe do like a partial.
Kind of roll it in, right?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. You just have to remember too that like they took that money in as revenue this year and are putting it toward what, like maybe some sort of semblance of a games or whatever we're going to have this year, maybe at the ranch. So if we look ahead to next year and they're not getting that revenue in, what are we going to lose next year now because they don't have that money to, I don't know, do a broadcast, put on games the way we want to, bring another division in? I have no idea. I'm just saying everyone sort of loses out. It is unfair to everyone.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we still have a whole host of other events that have yet to be canceled still.
True.
They're kind of holding out. And it's been kind of our position, and based off of our conversations with people and your conversations with people, we don't really think there's another event that's happening this year for sanctions.
Right.
It really seems unlikely for two reasons. Number one, I don't think they can get a venue and actually pull it off by July in another area. And number two, because I don't think anybody's going to show up. To not just to compete, I mean to watch. And if no one shows up to watch, they don't make any money. In fact, they're going to lose even more money because they brought all that equipment and they rented the location and they did all the logistics and brought the volunteers and stuff. And then nobody shows up. So why would any vendors show up? Because, kind of do it. So I don't think there's going to be anything that happens this season. nobody has told us. None of the organizers told us they're planning to put an event forward. So I think we've got to put a stamp that this is really the end here. Other than the games, and games is still planning to go forward. So
right.
Okay, well, all right. Look, topic number 2. Well, the bottom line on that one was I think the sanctional season is done.
Yeah,
and,
I think we're all set.
And moving on. So after the CrossFit Games, announced, hey, we're not going to be able to put on an age group division. We already knew the teams was coming, and they came directly after that, a couple weeks later. So after that happened, there have been some pop-up events that have come up, and we've got the Pit Games that's specifically catered towards teen athletes, and they've already confirmed a bunch of athletes that are committed to coming and competing. That's end of the summer. Rich Froning is putting together the mega team event down in Cookeville, and it's going to include the sanctional team event winners, as well as a couple additional teams. And now we've heard info about a Masters specific event that's getting put together. And last but not least, there is rumors of a Latin American based competition. A question for you, Nikki, is do you think that when CrossFit decided they couldn't put on the games, they sort of ceded ground a little bit to some of these other events to pop up and say, we think we can do it as good or better, or maybe we just can serve our group a little bit better than you can?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a possibility that now that athletes and organizers are taking these kinds of things into their own hands, that they're really gonna sink their claws in and gain traction and make these events. Especially I'm thinking about Rich and the team event, because they did such a great job at the Mayhem Classic. They have the experience, and people really loved going out there for that event. So yeah, there's definitely a chance that they've lost a little bit of ground there, and that these other events will pop up and take off and who knows what. But here's my thought. Because of the way our season is structured, and because of how games is sort of just ingrained in all of our heads as fans and as participants, and as it's the mecca of all things CrossFit, I just don't see it losing that big shiny light at the end of the tunnel feeling for athletes, even in the teens and masters divisions, assuming we go back to normal eventually, or whatever our new normal looks like, and that we can eventually have those teams and teenagers and masters at the games again. I still feel like it's going to feel like the culmination or the pinnacle of the sport, games, and it's not going to be these other events.
So do you think these events are a one-time thing?
Yeah, I do. I think that they might be this year a one-time
sort of
thing.
a reaction to the environment. And they're like, we're a little upset. We're a little upset. I think they're a little upset.
Yes,
I understand
of course. And I understand.
A little upset. And so, screw you. We're going to put on our event. And I know that's exactly what they're saying, but you could look at it a little bit that way. And you could say, well, maybe it's a one-time thing. Do you, so you would say,
I think it will, at least at this time of the year. Yes, I think it'll be a one-time thing. I don't think any of these events will come back and do this again, the weekend before or after games is scheduled. I also have to remember that a lot of the sanctional events, we're getting really, really good at being super inclusive with teams and teenagers and masters. A lot of masters athletes I know and spoke to, even games level masters athletes, now see Wadapalooza and Granite Games as their mecca. So the fact that those events might be coming back in one way, shape, or form once the world sort of calms down a little bit makes me wonder whether or not the Pit Games, even if it's great this year, are people going to want to add that to their roster when there are other sanctioned events that will be coming back? I'm not sure.
One thing that I do know, and this is held fairly true of the successful events, is if they bring the money, the athletes are going to show up. And if you're a teen or a master's division athlete and you have the opportunity to win 2 to 5K by standing at the top of the podium of your division, I can guarantee you people are going to start putting that on their list. That's what I know for sure. So I think, and we don't know, there's a lot of details we don't know yet, but I think that if some of these, other than Rich's event, and I do kind of have some high expectations for Rich's event. Rich's team, they know what they're doing. They're going to kill it down there. But these other ones, I think if they do figure out how to get some sponsorship money at the top and some, not like a $200 plane flight ticket money. I mean, something that's going to, a check that they're going to want to hold up at the end of the weekend. I think there's some hope for that a little bit.
Definitely. And I want to see them succeed because I think that they will be amazing events and amazing opportunities for these athletes to actually put their training to the test. And it's a culmination that they're missing this year. So I want them to do well.
Okay. All right. So that's the bottom line. So I'm going to go into trivia right now. After that, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of the trends that are going on in the affiliate community worldwide. Okay, welcome back. So our third and final topic of the day. Lots been going on in the CrossFit affiliate community all across the globe. We've got gyms starting to reopen now. We've got gyms discussing different policies. We've got gyms protesting in the streets. We got gyms doing push-ups in the streets and protesting, and gyms doing workouts in the park, and gyms doing it online like this. So, Nikki, what are some of these big trends you think that are unfolding right now? And do you think this is a watershed moment for affiliate owners where they're going to start really innovating and really shaking things up in their gyms?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these sort of baseline business models come into question. And I think affiliate owners are thinking about how they need to restructure their businesses over the next year, maybe even 2 years. Like you mentioned, a lot of people are doing Zoom classes, and I don't think that's going to end anytime soon. Even as gyms reopen, we're still seeing either smaller numbers of people that are required, or people who just straight up don't feel comfortable necessarily being around a lot of other people huffing and puffing. Social distancing doesn't necessarily work when you're breathing heavy, and ain't nobody want to work out in a mask. I can tell you that. And, for that matter, a lot of coaches don't even want to stand there while a lot of people are breathing right at them. So restructuring the model for the near future and the extended future is going to be really impossible. The biggest thing, or the biggest trend rather, that I'm seeing right now is sort of like a resurgence of OG CrossFit. It's taking the workouts outside. A lot of areas that aren't allowing gyms to reopen in phase 1 are bringing people outside into the park, into the parking lot, into a place where they can really kind of take a lot of distance and take some equipment. And it's kind of like when affiliates first opened and it was like, hey, bring your barbell and bring a jump rope and I'll meet you in the field. That's sort of where we're at right now, because it's a way for them to retain members, offer group fitness, offer the motivation of being around other people, but be spread out enough to sort of not break the law just yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my first workout was Helen, and it was outside because there were no indoor pull-up bars at the gym, except for the ones, at the near the cable. I don't even know what those things are called anymore for so long. But the area with the cables, and you did this and stuff, and then they had the pull-up bar. But
that's right. It was like the trap machine. Yeah, it's OG.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a pull-up bar outside at a track, so that's bring a kettlebell out there. So my first workout was outside. And I certainly did. I've done Murph outside more than once with a pull-up bar at a park. I'm sure that's where a lot of people will be doing it this year. But important question: Do you think that we have, through this pandemic, have now shown our athletes who have been members for multiple years that they really can get a workout by themselves in their garage with just a couple pieces of equipment? And they only maybe need to go in for strength training, or maybe only need to go in a couple of days a week to get in a more complex workout, a couplet or a triplet that involves some barbell movements or some other pulling things. Have we kind of showed them that a little bit?
Yep. I think in my opinion, you're asking two very different questions. Number one, yes, we've shown people that they can in fact get a good workout in at home and that they don't need a lot of equipment to get a good workout. I think that is completely separate from how often they want to come in or need to come in order to get their work actually done, because they know they can, they have the knowledge. That's great. I think home WODs and travel WODs and people dropping into gyms when they go on vacation, that's going to go up. Cool. However, I don't think that I think they've realized that they need the motivation of the gym and their coaches and their other people and their buddies to show off in front of, or whatever you want to say it. They need the community in order to stay motivated. Because how many gyms started off with great Zoom classes and have seen a steady decline in people who are logging on, showing up, writing into Facebook groups, and all that stuff.
Right.
That takes personal human contact. I don't think that people are going to feel comfortable getting there anytime soon. But I think they're going to realize they need it. They're going to need it
for the workout,
to get the
stay
gains.
for the community, right? Isn't that part of the thing that we say is one of the big drivers and the differentiator between us what we offer is a CrossFit community as much as it is a gym, and a big box gym or a global gym, where you just come for the workout and you leave as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We stay for the community, and it's certainly the community aspect is showing a bright light in the ways that they've helping each other and ensuring that the owners are staying in business and continue to support one another through a difficult time, both financially, economically, but probably in some other ways. And so one thing I am concerned about is that we have retrained behavior, and now that it's 2 months of retrained behavior where individuals. I'm actually in my sister's house right now. She has borrowed some equipment from the Red Wolf CrossFit, and has been working out every morning at 6:30 in the morning, and she's just going out there and hammering out a workout. And
Awesome.
You're like, we've retrained behavior a little bit. Now she's not thinking, okay, get up by 6:10, get breakfast, go drive to the gym, get in the gym. She's like, wow, this is really simple. Like 45 to 35 minutes. I don't need to, do this or that. I know my warm-up routines. And the question being, have we retrained user behavior so much so that, people realize they don't need to be quite as reliant on that gym experience and start cutting their memberships?
I don't know. I think that information and that knowledge that you can sort of get your shit done at home and you can do it well and efficiently, it only takes you so far. She needs to stay motivated to keep going out there every morning at 6:30 a.m. And the moment that sort of starts to wane, it would be the community that would bring her back. So right. I don't know, maybe for a little while, or when we talk about changing the structure of the gym, maybe it's that owners need to do this sort of like 50-50 model where if you want to keep some equipment at home, we're going to charge you a different type of a rate than if you were to come in every day.
That kind of comes there might be a mix. The innovation model of things. And I think that, and we're seeing in through anecdotally and through conversations that we're having on a story front with gym owners and with individuals, just saying, we're trying a lot of different things. We're trying different prices. By the way, prices really haven't gone up in a long time. If you think about it, like they've been pretty stagnant. I'm not saying they should be 2x or 3x what they are right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of gym owners don't say, hey guys, look, I understand, but 150, it ain't cutting it. And we are going to change things. And now it's going to include a little bit, maybe more smaller, more intimate training circles and training cycles. And I think that, look, in crisis, there's opportunity. And in crisis, all ideas begin to sort of get reevaluated and saying, does this really even make sense for us to do this anymore? I know we've been doing it for the last 5 years, but maybe we shouldn't have been doing it for 5 years at all. And now it's an opportunity to rethink that. I think you're going to see a lot of gyms taking this opportunity to say, hey, there's something new out there. I think we're going to try it. I bet we're going to see a lot of new trends.
Yeah, I think bottom line is people need to restructure the way the businesses work, or else they're not going to stay in business much longer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anyways, there wraps it up for another episode of The Bottom Line. We'll be back next week with 3 more topics discussing what's going on in the CrossFit world, sports, community, etc., and all. And we'll see you again next week.